Welcome back to another episode of Pour Your Own Problems. I am your host, Mercy. Today we're going to review is proof that the justification that the video proof shows the justification and shows proof that the officer justifies the offer clearly justifies the officer in this in it the ICE agent in Minneapolis situation. Let's review.
Breaking news on the deadly ICE shooting in Minneapolis. Moments ago, CNN obtained video from an ICE officer's cell phone that captures the confrontation with Renee Good that preceded, at least in part, her shooting. A DHS official confirms the video was recorded on the agent's cell phone camera. We do warn you, there is profanity. This is disturbing content. Here it is.
I'm not mad at you. Show your face. I'm not mad at you. That's okay. We don't change our plates every morning, just so you know. It'll be the same plate when you come talk to us later. That's fine. U.S. citizen, former fucking country. You want to come at us? You want to come at us? I said go get yourself some lunch, big boy. Go ahead.
Out of the car. Get out of the fucking car. Get out of the car. Oh!
CNN's Josh.
And you can see you have the wife antagonizing and also instructing her to pull off. And she's not aware that the officer is right there, in my opinion, at that point in time. However, when they were approaching you and telling you to get out the car, the other agents, because they were about to detain you, you should have responded. She should have responded appropriately. And in no circumstance she should have tried to remove herself once they got out the vehicle and gave her a command. On the other side, I don't really think her intention was to hit the police officer, because, like I said, her wife instructed her to pull off. However, you put this man's life in danger. And so that is what happened. That is what occurred. It's not like, I've had people hit me up that I personally know, and they would make the indication like, you're not sensitive enough. You don't care about this woman. I do care. I'm upset, but I'm upset with her because she put herself in this situation, and you and your wife was selfishly thinking about yourselves and not your children, because you wouldn't have been there in the first place impeding law enforcement. So it's important to have that context. Whether we agree or disagree, he can be justified in what happened. You can clearly hear him being hit by the vehicle. So I don't see this going anywhere. And as biased as CNN likes to be most of the time, I feel like in this segment, they're calling it how it happened. Let's keep it moving.
Campbell is standing by to walk us through this. We also have John Miller with us, who we'll bring in here momentarily. Josh, take us through this.
Well, this is a critical new angle. This was the actual vantage point of the officer. And we know that not many immigration officers actually wear body-worn cameras, but in this instance, the immigration agent was holding his phone up, essentially filming this encounter, which we can now see in this video obtained by our colleague Holmes Librand. So in the video, you see that the officers are making contact with Renee Good there. She's parked somewhat perpendicular in a street. And there's another woman that's there, which is outside the vehicle. And you can tell, as the exchange there with Renee Good, that, she's being somewhat pleasant. The other woman is, kind of mouthy, and this is obviously a bit tense. She, tells the agent at one point, why don't you go get some lunch, big boy? You also see critically, and I'll get to this in a second, bystanders behind the vehicle. We've seen other angles. This one shows us again the vantage point of that officer. Another agent orders Renee Good out of the vehicle. This agent then walks around. That is the moment that she then takes off. And on that audio, what we hear, it appears that you can actually hear friction on the phone. It appears from other angles that the agent was indeed struck by that vehicle, but you hear on the audio, it appears friction on the phone. That could be from the vehicle strike. That could be from, the phone on his clothing. But then it appears 3 shots were fired after that. And then you hear afterwards, someone, it appears maybe an immigration agent who was there, actually, use profanity, calling her an effing B. Which we heard on the audio there. Now let's talk about the tactics for a second. So, I can tell you this as a former federal agent, that law enforcement officers can use deadly force only when necessary, when they believe that there is an imminent threat to their life. In this instance, you have a moving vehicle that's coming at that agent. Now, the driver, Renee Good, did turn the wheel to the right. So it appears that she wasn't, coming head on at that agent, trying to mow him over. But nevertheless, an agent in that split second, decision would have to make that calculation. Am I in danger? Is my life threatened here? Agents are also taught, what are other options? Could you move out of the way? And that's why this has been such a contentious issue here, the judgment, the decision of that agent to actually open fire. We've heard, obviously people supporting that decision, others being quite critical. One other thing I want to note is that when agents undergo training, and not just the feds, but law enforcement across the country, it is a cardinal rule that you are responsible for every round that you fire. And one key component of that is, to the extent that you have the time and you must be aware of what is beyond your shot, what is in the background. Here, it appears from that video that this other woman who had been engaging in with the agent was quite clearly in the line of fire, but there were also other people that were standing behind that car on the sidewalk, and this is a residential area. And so I'm sure that will face some scrutiny as well. The officer opening fire at that moment, directly, it appears towards those other people beyond the shot, and then his partners, and you brought this up, Brianna, just the other day, his partners are there in close range as well. And so this will be heavily scrutinized from a tactical perspective as well about the officer opening fire. But again, just critical new video here that we're seeing, an important angle, what the officer would have been seeing in the moment.
Yeah, the other officer.
And I'm in agreement with everything that he said. Like, we have to understand that, yes, like in those critical moments, I think it could have been handled better. But at the same time, I cannot justify the actions of the perpetrators. I cannot justify it as well. Could ICE handled it better? Yes. Could the people, the protesters handled it better? Yes. But the bottom line is, you still put those officers in harm's way. Because that vehicle could have essentially ran over the other officer that was trying to get her out the vehicle. You're backing up, trying to pull off when he's trying to get your attention to detain you. You could have ran him over as well. So it's a lot of anomalies with throughout this whole process. We can say what he could have done better. We can say what she could have done better. We can say like the maneuvers and the tactics, but at the end of the day, that was someone's life being put on the line. When that vehicle started turning, those wheels started moving, you still put this man in harm's way. And I'm gonna keep harping about this. This man has a family as well. If she would have killed him, would y'all have this same vitriol? And I think the question, I stand on it, and I believe not. It's not that I don't have sympathy or empathy for this woman and her children, but we have to also look at the other side and with common sense understand that no, she put this man in a bad position where he had to make a choice for he had to make a choice for both of them. It was either him going out or she's going out. And it's ludicrous that a lot of people have this notion that they won't that it's like it's crazy that a lot of people have this notion that we shouldn't be that it's okay to impede law enforcement. No matter if you deem them to be real officers by law, and they are hired by the federal government, and they are seen as law enforcement officers, whether all because they're pushing immigration doesn't mean nothing. We just gonna skip over that they're mandated by the federal government, huh? I call BS on that rhetoric and that stance. And also, when it is an ambulance, a police vehicle, or a fire truck, we move out the way, right? We do not impede. If you impede, you get in a ticket, you might get removed or get arrested, right? But when they're coming through, what do? Move out the way, right? So bottom line, why were they there? I believe the wife is culpable for this situation as well. She told her to pull off because she was trying to get through the door. At first, she was trying to get in the door, but when she seen that ICE was finna come and detain her wife, who's driving the vehicle, Renee's wife, prompted her, pull off, Renee. Y'all heard that? So I think it's a lot of misinformation going out. I believe that we have to be more poised and more understanding with law enforcement, because just like you want to go home, these people want to go home too. And their lives shouldn't be put in danger when it didn't have to be. These policies with their in these cities that's prohibiting those cities police law enforcement to aid ICE is ridiculous, because this is what's going to happen. If Minneapolis had their police aiding ICE, this would have never happened, because they'll be able to put a little bit of control on protesting, as well as being the eyes to make sure that ICE is not doing something to protesters. So I blame the city, I blame the mayor, I blame Tim Walz, I blame Jacob Frey, I blame the chief sheriff there. Like, no, y'all policies are what is ruining this situation. It's one thing, like I stated in several videos, it's one thing to protest, it's another thing to impede. If it's a investigation going on, and I'm in the middle of, I'm walking down the street, but law enforcement is finna go into this building. What are they gonna do? Detain me, pull me to the side. Hey, get out the way. We're going in. I don't see none of y'all running to impede law enforcement for drug dealers. Because it'll be the same thing. Y'all let me know what y'all think in the comments. Remember to like, share, hit that subscribe button. It's your boy Mercy. I'm out.